Stevie Wonder in the middle. It is Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Another rousing rendition of the Mike Arana Show. I might sound like I'm in a underwater chamber. I might not. I have no idea. Those of you out there in Watcher land, let us know. We think it's better than yesterday, but no thanks to Amazon Prime that still hasn't gotten to me. CJ, I'm just, I can't see anything in the middle. What's going on, my brother?
John Cena is here as our third amigo today. I didn't know if you knew that. Did you get the memo? I just sent it via Amazon Prime.
Oh, did you? Yeah. No. Apparently, I'm looking for
I'm watching Wimbledon.
What the hell are you doing? No, you're not, because it's not going on right now. And as far as I'm concerned, it's over.
It's not? Oh, I thought it was on.
No, Sabalenka lost this morning.
Then I'm just eating some good strawberries.
There you go.
That is Vegas Mac for those of you joining us for the first time. We can't control him. We can't contain him. We're actually not sure what the hell he's going to do 90% of the time. But, guys, another interesting night in the sports world. We've got some baseball going on right now. Well, I mean, a little bit of baseball right now. We've got a new CBA in the NHL. We've got golf in Scotland, which was interestingly boring this morning for some reason. And I don't say that very often about loaded fields in golf, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm hungover. I have no freaking idea what's going on right now, but plenty of stuff going on in the sports world. No shortage of anything as we head into the final weekend for Major League Baseball before the All-Star game. We've got a home run derby on Monday, the Midsummer Classic. Before you know it, football will be here. Deion Sanders wants a salary cap in college football, all kinds of stuff. But let's start on that sheet of ice that we just saw Florida dominate down the stretch here. We'll talk a little free agency, but I'm gonna jump the shark, if you will. Let's talk about this CBA, because some interesting stuff in here, guys. And we'll just kind of go around the room. I know we've all kind of got some thoughts. I don't think there's anything groundbreaking here that's changing. I'll start on the far side of the screen with you, TJ. Give me one thing that jumped out, positive or negative to you on this new CBA. And I will, before you go with that, I will say this: props to the NHL and the NHLPA for getting this done way ahead of time and not dragging it out to the very end like we see in a lot of other sports.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're the only major, or one of the majors, that had a season canceled because they couldn't get their crap together. So it's very encouraging to see them get ahead of this. And we knew it had to be done ahead of time because of Olympic participation, and this is going to take us up until 2030. So that's great news. One thing that I liked about it was we can get rid of this Vegas, Tampa Bay, LTIR garbage in the playoffs, because there will be a playoff salary cap. So when teams field a roster in the playoffs, the AAVs have to fit under the salary cap. Otherwise, you got to make some changes. So I know there's been a lot of controversy, especially recently when Tampa Bay won it all a couple of years ago, how they had players on LTIR until the end of the year. And then Kucherov comes back and he's like, oh, screw you guys. We're winning the whole thing. And they did. And with Vegas, with their February tradition of putting Mark Stone on LTIR for the rest of the season. So that's something that was being talked about a lot. I'm glad that they fixed that. One of the things I'm not thrilled about is the 84 games season. This also, as kind of piggybacks on the NBA talk yesterday, fewer games is better, but of course we're never going to get fewer games because the gate receipts, the concessions, the parking, all that stuff is just more money. So they're going to extend it to 84, but they're going to cut some preseason out. So that's nice. But yeah, that was my big takeaway.
Yeah, we can cut the preseason down without extending the regular season. I'm not sure why there was a correlation there, but yeah, the Mark Stone layaway plan, it's in its final year of existence this year for Vegas, as this will take place in 2026. Again, I give them props, Mac, for getting it done and not waiting till the last minute and knocking it out. I mean, I don't, again, think there was anything massively groundbreaking here. I think, T, you just pretty much nailed it there. No player dress code. I mean, that was kind of interesting. Like, it's 2025. Who gives a shit what oh, no, my team's not going to win because he's not wearing an Armani suit to the rink. He's not ready for work. Who gives a shit is all I got to say, Mac.
Yeah, I don't know when that became the trend. I think football kind of started it, where they show these guys coming in, before the game. I'm always aware. I know when I'm getting ready to go to work, I'm always making sure that I'm looking good walking in case the cameras are out there catching me, before I'm starting my shift. I want to make sure that, I look good. I always got my mug and my drink and, everything else. So, I mean, I don't really get it. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool. I think the one thing that I do like, besides the fact that it got done, one of the things they talked about was the playoff fund. And it's not something we really think about, but there's added expense as teams go on further and further in the playoffs. There's travel, their family wants to come with them, all that stuff. They're going to increase that next year, about $34 million. That's going to be spread around the team, eventually up to about $40 million. That's a big deal for those teams that are going on, playing, basically an extra couple months in the season. So I think that's a nice little, dollop of sour cream, on top of the taco for the players.
I can't with you today. I mean, from whatever the hell that shit was at the beginning to
it's more gravy on the poutine.
More gravy on the poutine. Absolutely. See, I'm sorry.
More ice on the Molson. No, I mean, we could do this all friggin' day long if you want to. Like, T, I think and I know both of you guys would probably agree with this. The one other kind of pertinent thing that came out of this, again, I don't think it was anything groundbreaking. I give them credit. I think the league is as a whole, it's on a rise. As far as its popularity, and it'll continue to do that. And I think these minor tweaks that they've made will just go to emphasize that fact even more. The shorter contract length on both sides here, the 6 years on the open market, 7 if you re-sign, and that just drops a year on each one. I think it spreads the wealth a little bit. See, now this is what happens when you take us off the rails. We get people commenting on wardrobes and why things were a big deal here. I'm going to get our crackhead staff on filming walk-ins as the three of us walk into our respective studios here, like anybody gives a shit about that. I think that was another main thing here. And again, to try and spread the wealth a little bit, and it's ironic that it came up now, right after Bill Zito pulled another heist of the century and brought everybody else back. But again, something to keep in mind here, T, and I think people really need to make sure they keep in mind that this is going into effect in the 2026 season, not this upcoming one next year. So use the Mark Stone layaway plan while you still can.
Oh, 100%. I actually like the reduction of the maximum length of the contract, because we see this in the NBA. I'll give the NBA some credit. We see their stars move around, enough. It would be nice to see stars move around in the NHL a little bit more. You know how hockey people are. They're loyal to the core. But, I mean, come on. With the garbage that Pittsburgh's going to go through this year, I would love to see Sidney Crosby be able to take his talents to the Rocky Mountains, for example, and see what happens in an Avs jersey. So I like the fact that these contracts are going down to 5 and 6 years. But I think it's also a result of the market, because, I mean, the last time Austin Matthews renewed, he didn't renew at a max, an 8-year deal. He went for 5. So I think you're going to start seeing those bridge deals and those first free agent deals, even without this, be 4 and 5 years.
Yeah, and and again, the biggest part of it, Mac, is this guarantees us no work stoppages for the next 5 years, and from all accounts and everything that we've been told or read and all that stuff, it was seemingly effortless, very open dialogue. Even the more complicated issues everybody was kind of on the same page. And I think with the state of the game that we've talked about plenty of times this year, Mac, and all of us, I think this is a great thing and a very good thing going forward. So.
Yeah, it's good to see that they don't wait till, the last minute, the day before, and all that other stuff. It's all the negotiating tactics and whatnot. Just get it over with and done. I mean, yeah, the players suffer, but the only ones who really end up suffering are the fans. And we're always a glutton for punishment anyway. So just get that stuff over with and let's enjoy the product, which is a very, very good product.
Are you paying attention, Rob Manfred? Are you paying attention, you feeble-minded dweeb that shouldn't be the commissioner of baseball?
Just giving you an early heads up here, Bobby, before you screw something else up in the game of baseball. And we'll get to baseball here in a little bit, guys, but we would be remiss if we didn't make our way too early predictions in hockey as well. But let's look now that pretty much the dust has settled. I mean, if you're waking up from not paying attention like Steve Yzerman, free agency is come and gone. And T, I know you're wrapping up our hockey coverage on our social channels at Mike Arana Show everywhere but Snapchat, because
Snapchat sucks and we're not 12.
Exactly. So I know T's got some thoughts tonight, and then he'll put a bow on this whole thing on Saturday. But let's talk about some general winners and losers. I think for me, and we talked about this a few different times leading into free agency and the big names, and we'll just kind of go the center over to the other side here. For me, the most head-scratching thing that happened was what didn't happen in Detroit. You bring in Gibson, you send out Tarasenko. Other than that, Detroit really didn't do a damn thing. And the guys that we had talked about, hey, maybe he's a player here, maybe he's a player there. No, Gavrikov. I mean, we could go down the list of guys that they didn't get in Detroit. And I'm really interested to see how that goes over this year. And it's no shade on John Gibson. I like the move. I think they had to get Tarasenko out of there. But other than that, I mean, we need the Red Wings to be good for the good of the game. And to me, that's the biggest loser in this whole scenario here, was what Detroit didn't do for me. Mac, what were give me a couple of teams, either positive or negative, for you in the free agency wrap on the NHL. I'm
going to go with, for me, a team that I think was a winner was Carolina. Ehlers is a good signing for them. It wasn't their center that they were looking for, but it still gives them, just some more depth there. And then Keandre Miller, I love the signing, or the trade, I should say, with the Rangers. I think it puts Carolina still in a really good spot. We all know what Florida did, and Florida's the big fish, and someone's got to, hook that fish and try to get him down. And I'm hoping that maybe this will be enough for Carolina to do it. So that's my big winner. This is kind of weird, but I think the losers in free agency, honestly, were the fans. And I'm just going to say this because it kind of, most of the stuff was done before it even began. We kind of knew before, in essence, the free agency clock started, that, most of the big deals were kind of done. And we were kind of like, the day came like, okay, here comes NHL free agency. We're done. So, as a fan, you get kind of jacked up for, all right, here's what my team's going to do. And it was kind of a little bit of I'm going to be honest, I thought it was a little bit of a letdown. I don't like, and not just hockey, I'm just going to say, like, overall, like with basketball, I don't want to know ahead of time. If you do the deal, okay? But don't let me know until free agency starts. I don't, my presents aren't unwrapped when I go to the Christmas tree. They're wrapped up. I want surprises.
You strike me as the kind of guy that goes to the Christmas tree and shakes the shit out of everything to try and figure out what you got.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm actually not. No, I'm traditional. I want the presents out there. It's one at a time. Moment. It's not, we're done in 30 seconds. That's how free agency needed to be. And it wasn't. It was done before it started.
I'm not buying a single second of that bullshit. Do you give me some winners and losers?
I had Carolina on my winners list as well. I had Utah on my winners list. You got an owner there who's wanting to spend money and wants to bring people in, build a fan base. They made a big deal getting JJ Paterka in a trade. They had to give up a lot, though. They had to give up Kesselring, which is going to be a huge loss on the back end, but they made up for it by signing Nate Schmidt to a 3-year deal. But the hard part for Utah is they need to get people to want to play there. And Utah, and we've seen it in the NBA, free agents do not really choose Utah on their top list, top of their list. See, it's gone to the dogs already. So great move by Armstrong to get Paterka there. I think it might have cost him a little bit too much. I had Vegas on my winners list with what they did with Marner. And then I had Ottawa on my list as well. Getting Jordan Spence, I thought was a huge deal for them. Gives them another solid right-hand defenseman in their defensive core. And he's going to be an RFA next year, but I have a feeling they're going to be able to sign him to a long-term deal.
None of you guys picked my Fighting San Jose Sharks, which is shocking.
We want to leave that for you.
No.
You know what they need to leave for me is the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. We're just going to take every good sub 20-year-old that's out there, load it up. Mike Greer, and I think the casual fans, and we talk about this a lot. When you look at a team like what San Jose is trying to do, and like, hey, they have to get to the floor. They signed Dmitry Orlov, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, well, that's damaged goods. He's not the same. That's not the point. A, you have to get to the floor. And B, the Sharks needed veterans, especially veteran blue liners, to kind of teach this young, raw group how to. And I think it was one of the guys on the NHL Network now, and I can't remember, but talking about just the overall thought of like, where do the Sharks go from here? Obviously, the future's bright and everything, and he made it a perfect point. Like, yes, Orlov isn't the same Orlov that he was, but he brings a toughness. And when you're getting collapsed on the backside, I know we like to make fun of great value Georgiev here a lot, but when you're getting collapsed on the backside 24/7, it is what it is. I think hockey is the one sport that really does let you kind of rebuild while moving in the right direction, unlike some of these baseball teams and cheap ass owners like Dick Monfort that just don't give a damn. Let's make some way too early predictions here, guys. Going into next season, I think off the top of everybody's head, most people would go Vegas and Florida. Some people would go Edmonton and Florida again. I don't think anybody really wants to see that again. And to be honest with you, with the way this one shook out, I don't want to see it again either. I'm going to start with Mr. Way out of left field all the time in the center there. Give me your way too early predictions, Vegas Mac, and what you think and why. If you had to make a call right now in the middle of July, who's hoisting the cup? Like basically almost this time next year.
All right. Well, yeah. I'm going to start. I think one of the teams that'll probably be in that final pairing is going to be Vegas. I like the signing of Marner. I mean, this is a team that this was a year they were kind of quiet. Nobody really talked about Vegas too much. I like what they have. Again, if I have one, I've said it all along. I still have a little bit of question in their goaltending. But I think Vegas is going to take that next step. I can see Vegas in that final pairing. And listen, I'm all in. Okay. I think Carolina is going to do it. I think it's very hard to get back 2 or 3 times to a final. It's just difficult to do. And I think Carolina, I don't know that they quite did enough. Like I said, I think I'd like to see them get some sort of another top center somewhere along the line. I mean, they just don't appear on the street. But somewhere during the season, if they can do that, I just like Carolina. I think I'm going to use my NBA analogy. It's the teams that knock on the door, finally get a chance to go through. And I think next year I'm going to enjoy watching my Carolina Whalers win a Stanley Cup.
Man, you really convinced yourself.
Merch to come. Merch to come. It's coming. It's coming this year. Merch to come. I'm all in. Hartford Hurricanes.
Hartford Hurricanes, Carolina Whalers. See,
that would
Stanley
be
Cup
awesome.
final.
I've got Florida and Dallas. I'm concerned with Vegas's back end. Their top four is great, but the fifth and sixth and seventh defensemen, I'm not excited about. They signed Caden Korzak, but he's got to be the guy, and he's played 70 games in the NHL. So that's probably going to be a work in progress. Probably a lot of 5-4 games there, but Florida is just Florida. They were able to make all the right moves. I think that they're the team to beat in the East until somebody beats them right now. They've done it 3 times in a row. And Dallas, I think they've got one more kick at the can, one or two more kicks at the can at this, but I'd like to see a full season of the Moose there. I don't think Ottinger is, I don't think
you got the wrong team kicking the can. It's Houston that kicks the can.
I don't think Ottinger is nearly as bad as he showed. I think he's had a bad time. And yeah, I think this might be Dallas's year to get to the final.
I am, as I was a little distracted there because breaking news in the NBA, speaking of teams that aren't going anywhere anytime soon, the Oklahoma City Thunder have completed their trio of moves in the offseason, and Jalen Williams has signed his contract extension as well. So your core 3 in Oklahoma City, again, not going anywhere anytime soon. Until somebody knocks off the Panthers and you basically reloaded that team, and I know everybody's making fun of, you know, the ages of these guys when those deals that Zito extended them all to expire. That's not the point. The point is to keep going and keep going and keep going as much as you can with this thing. And this team doesn't show me any signs of slowing down. I don't see anybody in the East, with the exception of whatever the hell we're calling them in the middle, and the Rangers. I do like what the Rangers have done, and I again, it sounds so insignificant. I'm just going to make up words on this Thursday, that they held on to that first round pick next year when they had the option of which one to trade. And I think that is a very, very good strategic move for the Rangers. That's going to help them at the deadline. But I can't see anybody taking down Florida. And in all reality, would I take a flyer on Montreal to win the East? Yes, I like what they've done. You know, I kind of absolutely agree with what you said the other night in your video, T. But in the West, for me, it's Colorado. I mean, you've literally assembled the Avengers, and hopefully we don't see Dallas and Colorado play each other in the first damn round again. You know, I know you're going to have some thoughts tonight on the LA Kings situation, T, but that Colorado team they've got to get through with that group that they have. And I think that would be a massively entertaining finals. I think Vegas obviously is going to be tough. Dallas, you know, they always seem to find their way in. You know, Edmonton, I have serious questions about what the hell they're going to do in goal. Obviously, Anaheim's another team we've talked about in the West that should be able to make that push. But I think for me, it's Colorado. And I have full expectation that Florida is going to do this yet again. So baseball going on right now. We've got a first final of the day in a game that was rained out yesterday. Baltimore defeats New York, the Mets 3-1. The Cubs are pounding the Twins 7-1 in the top of the 7th right now. Again, breaking news if you are just joining us, no surprise, but Oklahoma City, the Thunder, they have finished their off-season to-do list of locking up their core 3 going forward with Jalen Williams' new contract extension. You know, and here we go. Like, this is exactly it. And I don't know anybody that watches the Rangers and lives and dies by the Rangers more than this guy right here. I mean, they had to overhaul
100%.
the defense. We've all talked about the impact that Sully will have there. And, you know, Rangers fans and the Rangers organization is not going to stay down very long. Packers, our guy RJ, on fire again. One team from Dallas needs to do something because the Rangers aren't it. Different Rangers. All right. Let's go through a little base. Actually, you know what? It's time to play high or buy. Are you guys ready? Another edition of high or buy. After I killed it in travel trivia yesterday. You missed that one, T.
I'm ready. All
right, I'm going to start.
Got my ducats.
I'm going to start with you, TJ. Mike Trout will be wearing a different red uniform by the end of the season. High or buy?
Hey, I think for this season, I think you're high. I think he's committed to the cause for this year. Now, if you're asking me if Mike Trout will be in a different red uniform for the beginning of next season, I would totally buy that. He is right now not. They would not get the return that they would want from a Mike Trout type of player at this point. So, I mean, they got two top picks for Noah Syndergaard a couple years ago. So the asking price for Mike Trout would be outrageous, and I don't think any team's willing to pay it right now. So I'm going to say high.
All right, Vegas Mac, high or buy? The Oregon Ducks will win this year's National College Football Championship.
Oh boy, your guy.
Wow. Oregon Ducks. Yeah, you're high. It's not going to be the Oregon Ducks. It's going to be somebody from the Big 12. Who is it this year? Penn State. I'm going with Penn State.
The Big 12 or the Big 19?
Penn State.
Yeah, the Big 12, Big 20. You know,
none of those guys don't count anyway.
I know.
Get out of here with that nonsense. All right, T, next one for you. High or buy? The Toronto Blue Jays win the World Series.
Excuse me. That got me all choked up there. I would buy that. I'll give you a Lincoln for it. That's a team that's going to need to improve their pitching, but their offense is definitely coming into play. They put up runs like it's going out of style right now. So, and they're starting to reel off wins and starting to make a little bit of separation there. And that is huge. This market is dying for a winner. They want to see they want to see this team in the playoffs, but the elephant in the room is, if this team keeps winning, when do you sign Bo Bichette? Because he's going to be the guy he's the next in line now. So you got to decide what you're going to do with him. This decision gets tougher the more separation they get and the longer they lead in the AL East.
All right, final one before we get into last night around the diamond and more of what's going on today. High or buy, Mac, that the Boston Red Sox make the playoffs in 2025?
Yeah, I'm going to buy that. They're going to make the playoffs. Excuse me. I think they're going to be one of the most active teams, buyers and sellers, at the deadline. And I'll give you an example. Aroldis Chapman has been phenomenal this year. The one thing about Chapman in the past, we all know what he can do. The one knock against Chapman has been his walks. He's knocked his walk rate down to below the league minimum. This is the Red Sox are in a scenario where I can see them trading a piece like Aroldis Chapman and getting something back. And that's not waving a white flag. It's just, it's one of the things that you could do. We know where they have some strengths, obviously in the outfield. There's a couple of guys whose names, but I think the Red Sox are going to fall into that category of buyers and sellers. But I think they will make the playoffs.
All right. Last one, actually. This is bonus round, and this is for both of you. High or buy, the Atlanta Braves make the playoffs. TJ, I'll start with you.
1, 2, 3, a lot of teams. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say you're high. I think they've dug themselves too big of a hole right now. I don't think it's realistic for them to make it.
Mac, the Braves currently sit as we
Yeah.
sit here today, 9.5 games out of a wild card spot. Now, if anybody's got the firepower to do it, it would be Atlanta.
Mhm. Yeah, the Braves sit on a throne of lies, is what they sit on right now. This is not your Braves year. Smoltz and Glavine are not walking through the door. It's not happening. I have a video that you might want to watch tomorrow that I'm going to break down. I'm going to put teams in some different categories. Categories like, listen, there's no way your season is basically over. I'm going to talk about some of the contenders, and I'm going to have a couple of other these subcategories of some teams, and I'm going to put some teams to rest tomorrow.
Uh-oh. We got it. We got an early time of death by a different person that usually does the time of death. Interesting
That's
stuff.
right.
Speaking of later this week on the social channels at Mike Arana Show, we will have Dollar Dingers back tomorrow in its usual spot on Friday. TJ is going to put a bow on the NHL offseason, as we talked about. LA Kings tonight. One more on Saturday. Mac's wild ride around the sports world, the Mac Minute. And that'll round out our week. We've got some exciting stuff to tell you about football season and our schedule going forward for football season. But we've got a lot to do and a lot to talk about. Last night on the Diamond, Tampa Bay, one of my liquid locks, they beat Detroit behind first-time All-Star Junior Caminero with a home run and 2 runs scored. Zach Littell gets the win. Chase Lee got touched up in a third of an inning, 5 hits, 4 earned runs. That ends the Max Tigers 5-game winning streak yesterday. The Tigers still sit, obviously, atop of the American League, on top of, and we appreciate the comments today. No, nobody mentioned the Giants, and we'll get to the Giants right now because Yastrzemski was terrible on the mound yesterday. The Tigers are cruising. They get kind of touched up a little bit. Interesting series to round out their pre-All-Star break first half against Seattle in the Big Dumper. Tarek Skubal scheduled to pitch on Saturday, so that's exciting stuff. Of course, Seattle is in New York to take on the Yankees in their final game of that series tonight. But the Tigers get touched up. Tampa Bay gets a win that they really, really needed, Mac, and then they're still in that wild card position, a game and a half up on the Mariners for the 3rd wild card spot. But your Tigers, man, is it time to break up your Tigers?
Yeah, no, it's one game. That's just the way it goes. I mean, they take 2 out of 3 from Tampa. For the Tigers right now, it's win the series, win the series, win the series, win the series. That's their main focus. They have such a big lead. They don't need sweeps. They just need series wins, and get better. So yeah, it's not a big deal. For Tampa, it's a little bit more. Games are a little more important right now. They have a big 4-game series starting today in Boston. So that'll be a good test for both those teams.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, Mac. Win the series. They're still 7-3 in their last 10, so I don't think anybody's jumping off the Tiger bandwagon just yet. But yes, huge win for the Rays. They need that. I mean, they've been playing well in their 4 games back, which shows you how well that Toronto has been playing.
Elsewhere in baseball yesterday, the Dodgers dropped their 6th game in a row in 10 innings, 3-2 to the Brewers. Ohtani, Betts, Smith, and Freeman a combined 0 for 15 in yesterday's game. The Brewers continuing to be what the Brewers are, a pain in the ass that never goes away. They have the top wild card spot in the National League, and they're closing in on the Cubs as well in the Central, a team that I'm waiting to see what they do at the deadline, because I've said it a couple of times. I know you guys didn't believe me at the beginning of the season, and I still think they're going to, but obviously they've endured a lot of injuries on their pitching staff in the Cubs. But this Brewers team, Mac, we talk about it all the time. They play gritty, they play tough, and they took it to the Dodgers again. Big sweep for the Crew.
That was a great game yesterday. They were down a run. They had a guy on in the 8th inning. They tried to steal. He gets thrown out, and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to go on? And then they get a big, RBI base hit from Andrew Vaughn, and then they get a guy on, and McGill came in. A guy I haven't really watched him pitch. He's a freaking lumberjack. I told you. Oh my gosh, he's an absolute freaking monster. He's up there. He's on the mound. He's got his bat. He starts off with his back to you, and he throwing 102 miles an hour. I mean, holy, there's no way. But yeah, I love this Brewers team. They were a lot of fun. I talk about the excitement. I've watched that Brewers team. A lot of excitement on that bench. They're just on a good roll right now. They're going to give Chicago. They're going to give the Cubs a run for their money, I think. And of course, this changes completely the Brewers trade deadline. I mean, we're talking about maybe shipping Peralta and this, that, and now it's like they may become buyers instead of sellers.
The Dodgers scored 4 runs in 3 games. That's a huge testament to how the Brewers are playing right now. They're 5th in the league in runs allowed. So the pitching has been there. Is it sustainable? I'm not sure, but man, that was fun 3 days to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Elsewhere, Toronto's 10-game losing streak comes to an end on the south side as the White Sox beat the Jays 2-1. A pitcher's duel yesterday. Adrian Hauser 5-2 with a .156 ERA for the Chi Sox. Only went 4 innings, struck out 7. Eric Lauer takes the loss for the Blue Jays. He's also been very good for Toronto as well. So now the Blue Jays will look to recap and regroup as they go into the break. Still atop the American League East, and they are at Coors Field of California, a great place to finish your pre-All-Star break. But, it's interesting because, when you look at the White Sox, obviously they're putrid. They're terrible. They're horrible. Every analogy, the only thing worse than them is the Colorado Rockies. But Adrian Hauser's having a really, really good year for the Sox, Mac.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's one of those things that I think last year and this year, one of the things that the White Sox were considered is like, who can we pick off of this roster to trade? I mean, it was Crochet in the offseason that went, Roberts' name has come up, but it'd be interesting to see if somebody like that is even available from the White Sox. I really don't have a real good feel about what the White Sox want to do kind of even going forward. I know, they got some good players from the Red Sox. Chase Meridoff, a really good infielder who's done well for them. Kyle Teal, their catcher of the future. But it'll be interesting to see where the White Sox, if they get picked apart at the trade deadline.
Your boy, Andrew Benintendi. That's the guy. That's the guy who's going to put somebody over the top. Interesting matchup on Friday in that game in West Sacramento. See if Max Scherzer can get back to his form, because he's really been a non-factor and a $15 million disaster, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, absolutely. Philadelphia, they pound the Giants 13-0. Justin Verlander falls to 0-7. A little deceptive on Verlander with a 4.70 ERA, and San Francisco did their best to, again, try and qualify for the upcoming World Cup by kicking the ball all over the infield with 3 errors in that game. Philadelphia, 17 hits. Bryce Harper, a home run, 3 doubles, 4 for 6 yesterday. Philadelphia continues their trip in San Diego to end their first half of the season, and San Francisco awaits the Dodgers coming into town, licking their wounds. For the Giants, they take 2 of 3 in the series. They're 6-4 in their last 10, and they hold that 3rd wild card spot, and they're only 5 games behind the Dodgers. So we talked about this stretch, Mac, and how poorly they played against Miami, and they got pounded in the first game against the A's. They've kind of wrote the ship, if you will, a little bit. Philadelphia, they keep their lead atop the National League East over the Mets. 2.5 games separate them right now. The Mets have a 2nd game to play today, but every time the Giants play Bryce Harper, and the story actually came out with some more details about when the Giants tried to get Bryce Harper, and Bryce being from Las Vegas, and we forget because he signed that monster deal with the Phillies. He's just now crossed that halfway point of that deal. And a bunch of the Giants brass, including Bruce Bochy at the time, they met Harper in Vegas at a casino. Bruce Bochy and Harper had known each other from Harper coming up early in his career. Bryce had told the Giants that he wanted to play there. The Giants were willing to up the offer because of the taxes in California. And it literally came down to Bryce Harper asking Bruce Bochy at the time, who was going into the last year of his deal, what's the plan for you? Because he wanted to play for Bruce Bochy. And this is where the collapse of the Giants under Farhan Zaidi began, because there was no plan for Bruce Bochy. So every time I see Bryce play, especially in San Francisco, and I wonder about the what ifs, it's always hard to watch. And he tattooed the Giants yesterday. Mike Yastrzemski was terrible on the mound, too, when they brought him in the ninth. I mean, just didn't have the stuff yesterday, Mac.
Yeah, well, Yaz is that's not his forte. We know that. I saw an interview with Melvin the other day. Yeah, I saw an interesting interview with Melvin the other day. He was talking about really this upcoming series with the Dodgers. I actually think it's a pretty big series in the fact that you don't want to slip up in this series. You're having a Dodgers team that's coming in licking their wounds. Okay, 6 in a row. You take, if you can win a series, that's great. The last thing you want to do is get swept. Now you're 8 out. I mean, take 2 out of 3. I mean, if you can, that's it. Don't get swept. Even if you take 1 out of the 3, it's okay. But you just have to avoid a sweep. But I do think it's an opportunity, for the Giants. It's like, here's a team that's coming in, like you said, licking their wounds a little bit. Why not? I mean, they have to be thinking sweep, but not get swept. But I think it's a pivotal series for them going into the break.
Yeah, I think the Giants have the guys going this weekend that they want to have going. You just burn the tape on yesterday and then just move on, right? And go get your 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers and make it a little bit more interesting. The Dodgers are reeling, but man, the offense just flat out hasn't shown up this week. So actually, they haven't shown up in a while, despite scoring 4 the other night. So I think the Giants are in a really good spot right here. Take 2 out of 3 and get the Dodgers thinking about things over the break.
May and Webb on Friday night, Roop and Otani on Saturday afternoon. And then I believe, if it still hasn't changed, Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Robbie Ray on Sunday. Interesting. They were talking to Robbie Ray. Oh, great. That game's on Roku. Fantastic. They were talking to Robbie Ray about, pitching on Sunday and not being able to be available for the All-Star game. And again, I've talked about this a bunch of times with the Giants. If you could roll out Webb and Ray every night in a playoff series, you're in way better shape. Now, will Buster Posey go out and get that other arm? I think you would tend to say probably, but again, he's got an eye on the future here. But Robbie Ray said it perfectly. Like, hey, yeah, it sucks, but we're trying to win a World Series. And obviously the Giants have a lot of work to do to be able to do that. But these are the kind of guys that Buster Posey wants on this team. Guys like Robbie Ray, they were like, yeah, it's cool. It's nice to be nominated and selected to the All-Star game, but that's not the objective here. So more of those guys in San Francisco are not a bad thing. Seattle and New York,
Mike,
what?
I was going to say, I think that wild card, let's be honest, is probably going to come down to a game or 2, right? And so you hate to not throw it away, but I mean, that typically is that Sunday game before the All-Star game is a pseudo spring training game. Everybody wants to get it done and get on with their break. It's not one that you want to throw away, especially when you are anticipating, being in a race that could come down to a game at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And we've talked about the National Wild Card race a million times. And, when you go 4 deep on that list, here are the Diamondbacks at 46 and 47. We'll get to them here in a second. And they're only 4.5 games out. And we've talked about the predicament that they're in with Mike Hazen's plan. New York, the Yankees 3 straight as they beat Seattle again last night, 9-6. Jazz Chisholm goes yard twice. Yankees starting to kind of get it right, get it back on the straight and narrow. I mean, again, the panic, and you kind of alluded to it yesterday, Mac, with, Yankees fans and what Michael Kay said and calling for a rebuild. And he basically called him out and said, you guys can't handle losing a World Series. I mean, this is a team that's 51-41. They are in the top wild card spot. They are 3 games from the Red Sox, who are tied for the last spot with Seattle, ironically, right now. The Yankees will get the Cubs coming in to finish their first half. We already talked about Seattle as they go to Detroit. But this Yankee team, I think, the questions going into the season that we had, guys, was about that pitching staff, especially when we got the Garrett Cole news. Now, these are not the same Yankees from, even just a decade ago that would overspend, overbuy. They're a little more convenient in the way they do things. And yesterday, I think, was a perfect example with DFAing DJ LeMahieu. And I don't think anybody was shocked to see it. But this Yankees team operates a little differently than the Yankees of the past. And I think that's important to note here as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's a spot, third base, that's been a problem for the Yankees for quite some time. You just got the feeling that with the players that are out there and available, the Yankees are going to grab one of them. And the players I'm referencing, it could be Nolan Arenado with St. Louis. It could be Gino Suarez with the Diamondbacks. It could be McMahon with Colorado. I mean, there's actually some pretty good third basemen. I would be shocked if the Yankees don't trade for one of those 3 or somebody along that line to fill that spot at third base. They moved Jazz off of third. He's going to play second now. I mean, this is the Yankees team that, as we know, it's going to be run by Judge. I mean, and what he can do. They're trying to fill in some of those pieces. Dominguez, yeah. Him and Volpe. I mean, they're still struggling. I mean, I still have a lot of questions about the Yankees. I did at the beginning of the year. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs. And I even thought at the beginning of the year when Cole went down, it would even be harder for them. Their pitching has actually kind of been, I think, pretty much a strength for them for this part. Their offense, I don't think, has really got rolling besides Judge.
Yeah, and I kind of agree, T, with Billy there. I mean, the Stanton injury and how long he was out, obviously he's a key part of their lineup. And we've talked about this stretch, TJ, a lot about the middle of this stretch the Yankees are in against these teams that they're playing in and out of the break. And the only team that was under 500 in this giant stretch that they were playing was the Braves, who are not they're not a team. Yes, they've struggled, but they're not a team you can overlook.
Yeah, this is an important stretch for the Yankees. Good that they're getting it back together. It'd be nice to see a little more consistency from Will Warren on the pitching side. He was a gas can the other night against Toronto, but then he had a solid outing 2 nights ago. So, this is the Yankees are the Yankees. They're going to do what they have to do to make the playoffs and to make a run at this. I am not concerned with them at all. I know they're going to be there at the end.
Boston, speaking of the AL East, they win again 10-2 over Colorado last night. 4 home runs for the Red Sox. Something to be said about removing a situation from the clubhouse, and you know who we're talking about. Now, make sure you get the story right, because if you're a Red Sox broadcaster or Will Clark, there's different interpretations of the Rafi Devers situation. But again, we talked about it yesterday, and the Red Sox have done what they've needed to do. They're beating up on the bad teams. Now they get Tampa Bay in a big series here to finish their first half of the season. But this Red Sox team is playing a very fun, loose, enjoyable brand of baseball to watch right now. And anytime you pop 4 home runs, Mac, and score 10 runs, I don't care who you're playing, that's fun.
Last night was the return of the Macho Man. 3 for 4 from Massa. Okay, I mean, another piece to that team. I mean, these are Alex Cora's guys. This is, like I said it yesterday, it's an Alex Cora team. If you remember Alex Cora from his playing days, he was a utility infielder. He would go around and do what he can. I mean, that's basically what he's got. He's got a bunch of much more talented Alex Coras on his team. Like I said, I think the Red Sox are going to be absolutely active at the deadline. I think I used a golf analogy for him. I said, when us duffers go and play golf, when we get a birdie, it's always an exciting thing, and we think it's awesome and it's great. But unless we do something on the next hole, it's either going to negate the birdie or make it look good. I mean, if we double the next hole, then the birdie, it doesn't really matter. And it's kind of the same for the Red Sox. I agree with TJ. Listen, yeah, the Red Sox have won 6 straight. Against who? The Nationals and the Rockies. They did what they needed to do. You go out and crap the bed against Tampa Bay and get swept or lose 3 out of 4, then everything that you did in those previous 6 games, goes down, it gets put with the T in the harbor. It's done. It's over. They've got to at least split this series. I mean, taking 3 out of 4 would be great. A sweep would be amazing. But listen, it's what you do next. And of course, who starts tonight? Jesus, Mary and Joseph. It's Walker frickin' Bueller. I mean, maybe maybe the original Yaz can come out and pitch because he can't do any freaking worse. I don't know. There's 2 guys on this team, Hamilton and Bueller. It's not Ferris freaking Bueller. It's Walker. I can't get anybody out, Bueller. I'm calling you out. If you can't get out of the freaking 4th inning, your butt's out of here on the tee.
Walker Bueller, literally. I figured that was all TJ had to say on this one. Cincinnati last night.
That was 2 games for Ryan McMahon. Congratulations, Ryan.
Cincinnati stops the bleeding. They end their 4-game losing streak. And I said it yesterday when we were talking about this. When you need to stop the bleeding in your Cincinnati, Andrew Abbott's the guy. He moves to 8-1 with a 2.07 ERA on the season. They stopped the road winning streak of the Miami Marlins. A big win for the Reds that they had to have. Speaking up of beating up on bad teams, the Reds, they will end their first half at home against the Colorado Rockies. So the Reds can get right and get moving here going into the deadline. But Andrew Abbott is having an amazing year for the Reds.
Yeah, and again, this is a team that, again, is a little bit frustrating. It feels like they go through a 7-3 stretch. They go through a 4-6 stretch. Just no consistency, nothing really there for this Cincinnati team. I feel bad because I love Tito, but my meter on the Reds is 0. I have no trust in this Reds team.
Is it getting limp?
No, it's my meter.
I'm not a big fan of this. I think the Reds are still gonna somehow find a way. Noelvi Marte, those played pretty well since he's come back, so that's a plus. But we'll see how Lolo goes tonight. But this is gonna be, the Reds. The Reds need to beat up on the teams that they need to beat up on. They're still barely hanging on at just above 500. So this is a big weekend for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get through a couple of these here real quickly. Minnesota beat Chicago last night 4-2. That is not the case today. Kansas City, they hand Pittsburgh their 6th straight loss last night. 4 straight wins for the Royals. Salvi with 2 home runs. Cags, 2nd day in a row, he hits a home run at the K. Another absolute bomb to center field. Washington beats St. Louis 8-2. Cleveland, they sweep the Astros, and I'm going to pause the bus right here. They go on the 10-game losing streak. They rattle off 3 in a row. Houston gets swept, which is kind of putting the brakes on them a little bit here on their impressive run that they were on. Martinez homers again. Ramirez homers for the 3rd straight day. And now all of a sudden, guys, Mac, we've talked about this a bunch of times. The AL Central, nobody's catching Detroit. But this entire AL Central, with the exception of obviously what's going on in Minnesota today, the AL Central is all starting to heat up and kind of round into form here. And it's going to be interesting, again, with that wild card push. It's still very jumbled up, even if you go as far down as the Guardians, who are only 4.5 games out.
Yeah, and of course, you'll have a stretch where these teams will start playing each other, and so those games will get more meaningful. But I mean, great for Cleveland. I mean, you won 3 games against the team that was probably one of the hottest teams going. Maybe you got Houston kind of sleeping, one eye sleeping, heading into the break a little bit. I mean, congrats to them, but again, really, the Guardians. I mean, great season last year. Just not that juice isn't there this year. They're just too inconsistent. I mean, I mean a minus 51 run differential. Yeah, it's not happening, dude.
Yeah, do you think the move with Josh Naylor? Do you think they wish they had that one back?
Yeah.
I don't think that's I don't think that's going the way that they thought it would anyway. Too inconsistent for Cleveland. Happy they swept the Astros though, just for on a personal level. But yeah, another team that this is a very important stretch for them. They need to get their crap together because the deadline's coming. You have to decide if you're going to be a buyer or a seller.
Yeah, and Houston sits right now. Battle for the silver boot is how they'll end their first half. Still a 6.5 game lead over the Mariners, 9.5 over the Angels. Speaking of the Angels, the law firm of Soler, Darno, and Trouty 2-7 two times last night as they outslugged the Rangers 11-8. Again, this Angels team's hanging around. The minus 57 run differential is what the issue is there for the Halos, Mac. But Texas, again, in the last couple of games, they've started to score some runs. We've been waiting for the offense to kick around for them. Hopefully this is something they can ride for their sake into the second half.
So a story last night, we were watching that game and my wife was in the kitchen, and when Soler hit that home run, she whipped her head around and she was like, who was that? That ball that came off his bat was an absolute rocket. It was one of those that, obviously listening to it on TV, it had a different sound. It sounded like I mean, I kind of joked. I said, I think that landed in Disneyland. Like, it was an absolute rocket off his bat. And if you watch his swing, I mean, I don't even know if he could get out of bed the way he's, the amount of bat speed he had on that thing last night. But yeah, again, Texas, offensively, it's kicking up. They've got to get in sync now. You've got to get, baseball goes through those. You have those weeks where the offense doesn't score. You have those weeks where the pitching can't pitch. You have those weeks where pitching and offense don't happen. And then you have those weeks where they both get together. That's what Texas needs now. They need to shake this off. You got a good series coming up against Houston. You got to make hay and go in there and take 3 from, the Astros. I mean, it's what they need to do. It's not going to happen, but it's what they need to do.
I just wish the Angels would go find the rest of their batting average, because when they're on, like Soler and Trout, when they're on, it is incredible. But when they're off, it is just gouge your eyes out bad. So this team needs to find the happy medium. I like the fact that they were down and they didn't quit. They kept on coming at him. Hopefully Kanowitz can give them a good outing tonight, and then they can go into the weekend against the Diamondbacks and tomorrow against Ryan Nelson. But it's not Ryan, it's Ryan.
It's not Ryan, it's Ryan. Speaking of those D-backs, 8-2, they beat the Padres last night. Dylan Cease falls to 3-9 with a 4.88 ERA. The Diamondbacks got a good start out of Brandon Pfaadt. Cost me a couple bucks. Thanks a lot. Arizona 4 home runs last night. Carroll, Suarez, McCann, and the big bomb from Geraldo Perdomo with a grand slam. Again, this Diamondbacks team hanging around. It's going to be an interesting thing. I've said my piece on what I think they should do at the deadline. We'll see if Mike Hazen agrees with me or not, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we're all in the camp of the D-backs should be selling. I think one note to this game tonight when they play San Diego, it got a little, it didn't get chippy. Chippy's not the right word. But after the 4th home run for the D-backs last night, a couple of guys got picked off by the by the Padres pitching. And it'll be interesting to see what happens today. I mean, Erod's pitching. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting hit by Erod. I mean, he throws up marshmallows anyway, but interesting to see the start of that game if he retaliates with any s'mores pitches or something.
The question for me is still with the Padres. Like, crap or get off the pot here. I mean, this team we talk about consistency, and this team is just, with all the firepower that they have and all the hoopla that surrounds this team and how fun it is to go to Petco, this team is still middle of the road, and something needs to change with this team relatively quickly.
TJ, I'm glad you say that, because isn't that kind of what they said about the Cubs for a long time? Like, the Cubs weren't worried about winning. It was more about, going to Wrigley Field and making the snake cup out of the beer cups, and let's just go have a fun time. And nobody really cared if the Cubs really won or lost. You were just there. I kind of get that same vibe with San Diego. I don't think anybody really cares. Hey, we're in San Diego. The weather's nice. Let's just go and have a good time. And that's kind of the vibe I get from the Padres. I think you're right.
Well, it's like just last night for the Padres, that's bloody embarrassing. To lose like that at home, that's just embarrassing. So hopefully for Padres fans' sake, they have a better performance tonight.
Yeah, and interesting series, as I mentioned earlier, and it's always fun when these two hook up at any point, especially in San Diego, the Phillies and the Padres, to close out the first half. Finally, Atlanta, they bring out the whooping sticks last night. 9-2, they beat the Western Sacramento, Henderson County, Philadelphia, Las Vegas Nomads. 5 home runs for the Braves, 2 from Arana Acuna Jr. So that rounds out last night. Only 2 scores in the book so far today. Again, we talked about it earlier. Baltimore in game 1, they beat the Mets 3-1. And it has gone final in the Twin Cities. Chicago knocks off Minnesota 8-1. We will not be on the air again until Tuesday, as per customary works. But we have a home run derby, guys, on Monday night. One of the best events of the season in any All-Star. I mean, it's better than dodgeball in the Pro Bowl games. Interesting stuff here in Atlanta. The weather at this time of year is always conducive for home runs in Atlanta. So, because we're all about the long ball, because chicks dig the long ball, it's time for us to make some home run derby predictions. Already some gamesmanship behind the scenes and who's taking who between the two guys in the center and to my right. So, I will start with the stealer of the group in the middle, Vegas Mac, who is winning the home run derby on Monday in Atlanta.
How is it, anyway, just announced today, I'm going with the Nomads, Brent Rooker.
Brent Rooker. And see, for context here, do we want to share your fantasy team? Do we want to share the name of your fantasy team on the show, TJ?
Absolutely. I'm very proud and honored to be the distinguished GM of Rookers and Blow.
You took his guy.
I just took what was available. It's what was available. I'm just saying. He took my guy. His guy was the guy I wanted. So, tat for tat.
Tat for tat. Something like that.
Fair.
Gee, who are you going with Monday in hot Atlanta?
I'm going with O'Neal Cruz of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think he's going to have a great showing. And then he will promptly lead the Pirates to a 5th place finish.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with the hometown hero, a guy who has, when he puts bat on ball, these are some of the most violent, aggressive swings I've ever seen. I know the place is going to be jacked. Hopefully his back is okay. He sat the other night against the Nomads. Last night he gets the 2 home runs, but I'm going with Ronald Acuna Jr. in front of his home crowd, and I think he is going to hit some absolute missiles there. So that means you are safe to pick anybody but Acuna, Cruz, or Rooker, and you are pretty much guaranteed a win in the home run derby if you fade us on those picks there. Speaking of picks, my back is killing me this week. You two...
From carrying us 2 saps?
Yes, from carrying you 2 saps. Last night, I got the win on the Rays money line. The rain out, so I didn't get Soto's 2 total bases, but with the way my week is going, I would have gotten 2 total bases out of Juan Soto last night. So, Mac, you went, I believe, 1-1 last night. Yeah. Now, Cantor went under the 17.5 outs. Riley Green did not
Correct.
leave the yard. And TJ went back to where his well is watered. I mean, Mac's throwing out all the superlatives and everything today. Tees and harbors and all this stuff. Ferris Bueller's. TJ went back to an over in that Arizona-San Diego game, over 8.5. Boys, it is time, as customary, to finish the week on a high note, aka will you two boobs actually pick something that hits today? I'll get us started. Liquid Lock, it's been working all week, so I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to take over 9.5 between the Yanks and the Mariners from the Bronx. And I am taking the Padres tonight on the money line against Arizona. So Padres money line, Yanks and Mariners over 9.5. TJ, give me a Liquid Lock for the evening.
Okay, I am going to stay in my well here, and I'm going to give you a little trivia. Do you know which stadium has the third highest elevation in Major League Baseball?
That would be Coors Canaveral of California, I believe.
That is fourth. Do you know who's third? The team they're playing tonight, the Atlanta Braves, are have the third highest elevation in Major League Baseball. So in that honor of this matchup, I am taking the over in West Sacramento tonight, over 10.5. There are going to be balls flying everywhere, Mac.
Yes, they are always balls flying everywhere for the Nomads.
Let's get this
all right.
thing out.
My favorite pick. I love this. I know it drives Mike crazy. He's not a big fan of this pick, but I've fallen in love with it. Miles Mikolas from St. Louis. Okay. I'm going under 17.5 outs tonight. Okay. Under 17.5 outs tonight for Miles. And then again, as I tell you, I'm going to go one more. I'm going to stay with it. My home run pick for tonight, part of my Liquid Locks. I'm going with Jonathan Aranda of the Tampa Bay Rays against Ferris Bueller of the Red Sox.
Oh, my God. So there you have it. Seattle and New York over 9.5. The Padres money line. Stacktoe in Atlanta over 10.5. Miles Mikolas under 17.5 outs. Jonathan Aranda for a home run. So that means we will probably go 2 and 3. Thanks to you two. I mean, you guys went at me last Friday because I killed dollar dingers. We have a chance to redeem ourselves tomorrow with that. Tuesday, obviously, it'll be a baseball heavy show.
Do you want to make a trade?
No, there's no trades. Tuesday will be a baseball heavy show. We're going to talk about the All-Star game and some of our favorite All-Star game memories. TJ had a little bit of a religious sports experience a couple weeks ago, and we're going to talk about some of our all-timers in places that we've gone. I'm going to take away all strawberries and under outs pitching performances from Mac away from him next week and tie his hands there. Wimbledon will end on Sunday. For me, it ended today. So that's what we have going on here. Do you have any final words for the week, Mr. Strawberry?
No, going to the races on Friday night. That'll be fun. Looking forward to that. Other than that, I'm real. I'll be honest with you. I'm really hoping the Red Sox take 3 out of 4 this weekend. If the Red Sox take out 3 out of 4 this weekend, I'll be really, really happy. It'll show me that they're for real. I've almost got 2 feet in.
T, any final words here before I address a couple of these comments?
I texted the general last night, and the general was well into his truckload of Molson and had some kind words for me to pass along, which should be seen this afternoon.
Nice. All right. First of all, RJ, yeah, there's a lot of us looking forward to the baseball draft. There are still some nerds like us that do like the baseball draft. Mac will have some thoughts on that on his Mac Minute, I am sure, this week. Who cares about tennis? The same people that care about watching people drive around in circles around a racetrack, Mama Mac. So there's that as well. For everybody behind the scenes who work incredibly hard to make the three of us jackasses look presentable for you on camera, and for the two guys that join me every week and hear a lot of fun stuff coming up. I can't wait to tell you guys what we got going on for football season. Enjoy your weekend. Dollar Dingers on Friday in their customary spot. Let's see if I can not screw that up. And then on the week I'm having, I'm going to say tomorrow's the day, boys. For TJ, for Vegas Mac, and Mike, we'll talk to you later.